Welcome to the first Bunker Chat in 2021. And boy, do we have exciting news here. I'm Thomas, your host. I have with me as guests Guðmundur. He is a co-founder and creative director of 1939 Games.
Dankeschön.
We have also Ari. He is a CTO of 1939 Games.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. Today's show is full of exciting news. We are revamping the progression system in KARDS and also working on the economy. There's a lot of stuff to talk with, exciting things. So let's start with a rough overview of how we're gonna do this. We first start with some details and present what and why we are doing things. Then we talk about the transition from the current system to the next one, to the new one. Afterwards, we have also plenty of time for questions if something is unclear or if you just want to talk a little bit about things. But please keep in mind, we want to have it very focused on the progression changes and the economy because it's such a massive change. So we don't want to really distract things and go into other fields. So we have, of course, quite a couple blogs already published, but not everyone has read these things, and sometimes it can be a bit lengthy and text and all the stuff to talk through. So Gumi, maybe you can talk us through the various topics and start maybe with the wildcards.
Yeah.
Why are we doing these changes? And then, of course, what exactly is changing?
Definitely, I can do that. And this is the slides that we're going to go through are kind of a summary of what we've already been blogging about. These are, of course, 3 different systems, and we're removing some core systems out of the game, but they are all very much interlinked, and that is also the reason why we are putting all of this stuff into a single package.
Right, so these things are just not separate, but a whole package.
Yeah, I definitely look at this package of changes as a one big, it's different systems, but they are very much interlinked. So it kind of didn't make any sense to separate them and come out with them in batches. But I'll start with just going through the wildcards, which is definitely one of my favorite changes.
Wow. Okay.
So the wildcards are basically, you might know this kind of system from some other games out there, but we of course have our own take on it. Wildcards are basically cards that you can use to create the cards that you want to add to your collection by exchanging them, the wildcard, or transforming the wildcard into the card that you want. And the wildcards come in the 4 different rarities. So you have standard wildcards and limited wildcards, special wildcards, and then the elite wildcards. And so the reason why we wanted to do this is that we've never been really happy with the resource system. Even if it is a quite functional system, it has always been a little bit difficult for us to kind of present it in an elegant and nice way. We also think that system is a little bit difficult to manage for newer players, and we wanted to go for a more user-friendly and elegant system. So the wildcard system is much clearer, a clearer visual medium than the resources. It's definitely easier to understand for new players. It's immediately available to new players, while as the resource system was, it was that complicated that we didn't really even want to introduce it to new players until a little bit later on. But we're quite confident that wildcards are great for new players. And then finally we had the gold cards, which were kind of our wild cards, but that was also a very hidden feature And also we had the problem that we had kind of two separate functions competing. I mean, some people want to have gold cards, which is a traditional thing in card games, which is more of a bling and to make their collection look good and all that. But wild cards is a completely other thing and a much more functional entity.
And if I might say so, it's always painful, or was painful, if you had a gold card and then you need to break it down because you want to have the resources. So it's kind of a weird hybrid, and it's, I don't know, I mean, it's always sad when you break down your gold card, because it's such a rare thing that you get a gold card and you need to then decide. And yeah, I was never such a big fan of it personally.
No, definitely. I mean, in some players like myself, I'm not really that much into the bling part, so I always use them just as wild cards. Some players use them only as you know,
I would
cards.
never dream of like
I know a lot of players like you, Ari, that never recycled them. But then you had also these people in between that kind of wanted both, and so it makes no sense to fuse these two things together like we did. So if I continue a little bit with the bullet points, so how you get the wild cards, that is also an important thing. So you get them as rewards in the new national progression system. And we will go into more details on that, of course, later in these slides. And then you get them from card packs, much like you get the gold cards today. But the drop rate of wild cards is much higher than the drop rate of the old gold cards. So you get quite a lot from packs. Then you get also a bonus wild card every 6th pack you open. The officer pack actually count as 2, so every 3 officer packs if you open them.
And what, if I might interrupt, what kind of wild card do you get? I mean, just any rarity? Is it random, or is it just a system?
That's a good question. It's actually the more rare. So it's like limited and special and elite wildcards only in that cycle, and it's a fixed cycle, and I think it's limited, special, limited, special, and then elite or something like that.
So it's a fixed system, and
yeah.
That's great.
So it's
It's
a very
random, predictable, and good stuff. Yeah.
Definitely, it's a very predictable system. And then, of course, you have the surplus cards, which, of course, I mean, you get resources for today, and you will get. We will be adding something called the crate, and that crate fills up as you get surplus cards, and you get out of that also wild cards. But also some gold cards and other things. But I would say the biggest value is the wild cards. But of course, someone might like the gold stuff more out of that. But I think a bottom line here is that the influx of wild cards is going to be much bigger than the influx of resources today. Yeah, so I mean, that also touches up on and the reason why we want that is because wildcards are, of course, a little bit more limited in their use than the resources. Because
right, you can get the wildcard, or you can use a wildcard only for that specific rarity. So if you have, let's say, a wildcard of special rarity, you can use that, of course, to create a card of any special rarity, right?
Yeah.
If it's a generic wildcard. But you can't use it to create, let's say, a limited card.
No, exactly.
Okay.
They're not interchangeable in any way. So even if you have, 100 elite wildcards, that doesn't help you in any way to create that only standard card that you need. So that is a bit of a limitation. So that is why we feel it's very important that the influx of wildcards is a bit higher than the resources.
Right,
definitely quite a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly, and that's also the reason why it needs to be done as a package, right? Not just doing wildcards, but all the other things together, so that we are making sure that people are not falling short
Absolutely.
and just
Yeah.
suddenly are locked out of the system, as the example you had.
Yeah, I mean, for example, the national progression system, new one, is one of the main sources of wildcards, and so it kind of had to come at the same time. Yeah, definitely. And then, besides being limited by rarity, you also have national specific wildcards. So you can have like a limited German wildcard or you know, a special US wildcard. Then you can only use that to create you know, the cards from that nation within that rarity. So they are even more limited in usage, but you also usually get them for grinding the new national progression system. So it kind of, you get them when you kind of want them.
Yeah, I think we will talk a little bit about the national progression system shortly, and there we can touch on that also. How frequent is it, and is it very rare, and all these things. And
yeah, exactly.
it's all interlinked. It's not just it's wildcards. No, it's a whole package, and there's quite a bit of thought put into it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I mean, that sounds really good. Quite interesting. There's of course a lot more detail and further information in the dev blogs we have published so far, of course, and they are available in all other languages we present, and we have cards in, of course, so you can read it up as well. And later we have also the questions. We gladly answer if there are any.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there will be.
Good. But there's more. There's a lot more.
Yeah. What's the next one? National progression.
Let's see. What is national progression about? What is it?
National progression is a system that we wanted to put in place to really kind of create kind of a logical progression system where, by playing a certain nation, then you build up your collection with that nation. And it kind of makes sense. We of course had like a sort of a national progression system within the old ladder, but there again, a little bit like with the gold cards and wild cards, we were fusing different things together. So you had this kind of, you wanted to get national progression in the different nations, but that was also to get up the ladder and into the officer club and things like that. So we wanted to break that apart a little bit and create a kind of a more system that's just focused on national progression.
Right. That sounds like it. It's much more focused if you're playing a certain nation, especially a beginner, but also later on, then you get immediately the benefits of it, and that you don't spread out very thin and you have a lot of small pieces, or maybe not that many, but small pieces lying here and there and this and that, and you can't really use all these small things until much later.
No, exactly. And I mean, another thing that we are phasing out, which this national progression system is also replacing, is the achievement system, which also had a lot of national-based achievements, but the achievement system was a bit of a, I mean, people just got a lot of stuff from it in the beginning, and then they started getting less and less, and I think very few people were really playing that system and looking at what to expect from it. I think what we have now is that you can really see what you're going to get by progressing in a certain nation much clearer, and it will be much, you will have much more logical goal setting in this new system. Should I go a little bit through the points here?
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, we have talked about the whys already. I think we haven't really mentioned the big visual part as well, that the achievements are quite hidden. I mean, of course, not that hidden. It's not like you need to dig and go into the cellar and dig up a chest or whatnot. That's not the case. But still, it's not really that prominent. And
no,
I mean, of course, cards is a card game, of course, and has all these aspects. But in my opinion, I hope you agree, it also should look nice and beautiful, and it should be accessible. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just about playing the cards.
Yeah, I mean the achievement system. I mean we're talking about here that it kind of sucks in these bullet points, but I mean it served its purpose pretty well, and it was something that we could throw together pretty quickly, and it is a quite standard, of course, way to do things in mobile games and such. But I mean I think, like you say, the new system is much more elegant. It looks much better, and it gives you rewards much more gradually. So I think it is a much more kind of complete system. So how does this work? This new.
I was just going to ask that. How is it actually working? And now we have talked so long about why is this and why that, but let's see, how is it actually working?
So it's about playing the nation you want to progress in, and wins and losses both give progress. So it's more about just playing the nation, enjoying that, and then you will reap the rewards and progress. It's a level-based system, and you will progress slightly faster if you win. Of course, we always want to have an incentive to win, and I mean players play a game like ours to win eventually. But it matters much less than, for example, in the achievement system, or especially maybe the old ladder system. Each level gives players a reward, so you will get pretty frequent rewards. I think it's in the early games it's like every other game or so on, you progress or you level up. And then, you know, when you get a little bit later into the progression, then it starts to be, you know, maybe every third game or something like that. But it's definitely not with this, you know, by 10 multiplier that the achievements have.
The current
No,
achievements,
and it goes actually to 5 or 6 games, I think, when you are at level 200 or something of these 250 levels.
So you still get something every few games?
Yeah, it's always few games, and I mean, yeah. And of course, if you lose them all, it might be 1 or 2 extra games that you have to play, but...
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. When quick question first, you say all matches, what does it mean? I mean, just all your PvP matches, or?
No, it actually applies to, you can play against, you can play training matches even, and challenges, but then I think it counts like 20% or something, so it's
it's
but you still
considerably
get
slower, yeah.
Okay, that's quite a change.
Yeah, and yeah.
Very good, very good. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Of course, there will be quite some questions, and especially how we transition from one system to the next, but we will talk about that shortly, in a couple of minutes. Let's first see what do we get out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's of course a big factor in this, is what you get for progressing, and we are talking about gold, specific cards, wild cards, random cards, packs, national packs, emotes, card packs, and draft tickets. And the important thing here with this list is that most of these are nation specific. So the specific cards you get for, you know, if you are climbing or playing, you know, Japan, you will get specific Japanese cards, you will get Japanese wild cards, you might get a random pack that's just anything, but you also get national packs quite frequently, which only have cards from that nation. The emotes and card packs, they are also very nation specific, so you won't get any, you know, Banzais out of your German granting. But draft tickets are, of course, just regular.
That sounds pretty good, pretty complete. I mean, what's something there you can't get? I mean, it looks quite useful.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, I mean that is one of the strengths I think of this system, is that it really, you know, if you want to build a certain type of a deck, If you wanna, you know, if you've been playing one nation and you wanna move into another and you don't have that much cards in that nation, then you can really, you know what to do to get there, you know. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you actually see what next reward you will get, or is it kind of hidden, or, I mean, can you really work towards and say, yeah, if I level up a few more levels, then I will get this, and then can use that, and so on?
Yeah, it's very visible. You know, so you can see always at least 50 levels, I think.
Nice.
And the total number of levels is initially 250. It is designed as an finite system, but it could also become infinite. We can always add levels to it, but you can always see a big range of the rewards that you're going to get, except of course what comes out of the packs, and there are of course random cards sometimes, and things like that. But most of the stuff is very predictable.
Yep, I like it. I like it. But that's not all. There's even more, right?
Yeah, what was next in? Yeah,
we are also making changes to the seasonal ladder, and that is something that must be also seen as part of the whole package. It's not just an individual isolated change. All these things are coming together. I mean, if you just pick out one thing, that's good. I mean, if you say wild cards, you know, that's an exciting change. Or if you say the new national progression system, that's exciting in itself as well. But if you put all these things together, all these threes, we will talk about the ladder shortly, I think then you have really something better. A whole nice package that strengthens each.
I mean, the wild cards and the national progression is something that we have been designing for a long time, and we knew for a long time that we were going to do those things. And changing the ladder system is more a byproduct of the other two, because we didn't want to have parallel national progression systems. From a game design perspective, it makes no sense to me that you are grinding, you know, your USA levels and your USA ranks,
right.
And that those are two systems, and you are gaining rewards, similar rewards from both. That I think would just be confusing for everyone, and so that was the main reason for changing the national ladder. But there were also some other things that weighed into that decision.
What actually does it change? What actually are we changing?
So the main thing is that the new seasonal ladder is going to be non-national specific. So it's just one ladder. There are 25 named ranks that you have to progress through to get up to the elite rank of joining the officer club, the field marshal. And so that is kind of the biggest change, or a really big change. And another really big change is that while we are doing this, we're also going to change the matchmaking system a bit. So it will be much more based on the status in the ladder than the behind-the-scenes elo system that we have been using, which has worked really well, but has some shortcomings and is really hidden from the player, which is both a good thing and a bad thing in a way. Yeah, so now the ladder will probably become a little bit more competitive, and I think that's fine, because you can, if you don't want to take so much part in that, then you can be more focusing on the national progression and other things.
But aren't you, if you are not, I mean, if you say, all right, now it gets a bit too difficult, a bit too hard, aren't you losing then out on the big rewards at the end of the season?
Yeah, so that's something we decided to kind of deliberately change, is that the focus of the rewards in the ladder will now be different. So it's less about growing your collection, and it's more about prestige. So in the
Right.
first iteration you will be getting gold cards and stuff like that. I'm very fond of an idea we've been playing around with, but which is irresponsible to talk about now because it's
So we are totally doing it, right?
not slotted into our timeline anyway, but that you would, for example, get card packs, different card packs based on where you are in the ladder, that you can show them in the next season or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool. But that's just
Yeah.
don't let the ideas run wild, too wild. I mean,
No, definitely. But I mean, it will be about somehow, more the prestige, and then of course getting to the very top of the competitive level to compete in the officers club and have access to these officer club tournament and so on. But
yeah, I think that's also quite a big thing, and we will talk about that not in this bunker chat, but there's also some quite big news coming out in the whole tournament scene.
Yeah, definitely. So with these points that we have here, I mean, I already mentioned having a parallel system is confusing, and the ranks were not really a good indicator of skill as it was. So it will be a little bit more skill-based now. And also, I mean, because it will become a little bit more skill-based and depend on, I mean, not only skill, but also if you're an old player and you have all the cards and all that, I mean, you of course are in a good position, and we didn't want to favor, those players with giving them a lot more rewards than the other players, like in the terms of growing their collection and that all.
Right, especially when you're starting the game or beginning the game, you really need these rewards. But on the other hand, you need the rewards to get the rewards.
Yeah.
So it's not the most ideal situation, I would say.
No, exactly. But I think no one needs to be worried about losing out on these packs and elite card that you got through the old ladder, because the overall flow of rewards that you will get through the national progression system and through the wild cards and in other places will be so good that it will more than compensate for it.
Ah, that's good to hear.
Because of course that is eventually what some people will worry about.
Yeah, of course.
With all these changes, how will
of
their economy be affected?
Yeah.
Which is
And I mean, it is
normal.
a change. That's not sugar-coated or talked away. Of course, it is a change.
Yeah.
So far, at the end of the season, you got big rewards. You won't get these big rewards at the end of the season, but it will be spread out more evenly.
Yeah.
And you still get rewards. I mean, it's not like you get nothing.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, especially if we develop a little bit the rewards that you get and let them play with the prestige, and then I think, I mean, that you might get some rewards that are for competitive players much more meaningful than a few packs of cards.
Yeah, especially when you're a veteran player, you have maybe already really sizable collection, lots of gold, and you don't really need more packs. But what you would like to have is some really shiny stuff that no one else gets because no one else is as good.
Yeah, something that they can show the rest that you are one step ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But let's move on. We are a little bit need to look at the time.
Okay.
There's still a lot of stuff to discuss.
Yeah. So the new ladder is in many ways similar to the old one. It is based on you progress through stars with the games that you win. Each rank has like 5 stars within, except the field marshal, which only has this one big star. And then you have then the season resets monthly, tied to the calendar month, just like before. And rewards, as we said before, is focused more on cosmetics and status. Matchmaking is based much more off the ranks. We will use the elo system as well as a secondary tool to match within the same ranks. And we are going to show players the rank of both players within the battle. I'm not going to say exactly what the range will be, but it will probably be like maximum range of 2 ranks. I think that is.
You mean range as in players being matched together?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But this is of course a big change, and we are going to be monitoring this part especially carefully, because we have to consider the queue times in the matchmaking, of course, and we have to be really careful on that the matchmaking is working properly after
Right.
this.
I mean, that's of
It's a
course
quite
super
drastic
important.
change.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with all these changes coming up, when we transition, we will talk about that in a bit. But the first period, first few days or whatnot, a short period of time, there will be some bumps maybe where everything doesn't work perfectly because the system still needs to calibrate itself, and that just it can't be preset. It needs to run itself, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, there are some things like the win streaks and the save points and the things like that that are in the current system, which will work in a similar way. But those are parameters that we might be adjusting after release. I mean, just to get the system to
additional
flow
knobs where we might want to turn a little bit and seeing how everything works.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
And
not that this is and we never touch it again.
No, definitely not. Because I mean, the old system, we have been tweaking that for a long time to work as well as we think it does. So we will be bit on square one when it comes to that again.
All right, let me recap here a little bit. We're getting a lot of changes in the core progression system, in the economy. Achievements are gonna change into national progression tracks for each nation, one track. We have a change in the seasonal ladder. That's also changing into a one unified system that you don't have to level up in each and every nation. And we get also a big change with the wildcards. I mean, that's quite massive. Now, that's all fine and good, assuming, we get everything fine and running perfectly. That's one thing. But a major second thing is, how do we move from the current system to the new one?
Mm-hmm.
Are we resetting everyone? Do I lose all my stuff? I mean, no, of course not. That's a silly question.
Yeah,
I mean,
everyone loses everything. We move it to our offshore account somewhere in the Bahamas.
Yes, let's sit on the beach and play cards with all these stolen gold cards.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Let's be a bit serious. I mean, people are quite concerned when we first published the blogs. It's like, yeah, what happens? Are the gold cards now completely removed? What about my resources? What about the achievement? Do I get anything back? Maybe, Ari, you can talk about that a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we are going to apply this to the server at the 10th of February. That is the release date. That is only, 12, 13 days away.
All right,
So
here you have it, 10th of February.
Yeah.
Boom.
So since we are applying this not at the start of the month, then we are going to basically have no season in the officer club for the first 10 days. Mm-hmm. And since February is short before, then it's actually a very short season that we have in February. But that will be in the new system. We want to go that route rather than having 2 short ones in February or something, or trying to merge them in the systems. That would have been probably not fair for everybody. So
the time from February 1st to the 10th, when we change, it's kind of free for all. Do whatever you want, and
exactly.
Just have lots of fun and grind up things, and just go
draft,
crazy.
Draft or something.
All right. Okay.
With your friends.
Then we are removing the achievement system and moving the reward plus some more to the national progression system. Mm-hmm. And but what we're going to do is give everybody 2 officer packs just for their inconvenience, and people are on different levels of getting achievements and like that. Then we are also going to place you in this new national system to a certain level, to a maximum level 50.
Yeah.
And all the rewards that you would have gotten there, you just get them right away. But most players are actually put lower than they would have been if they would have been playing. Well, all players basically, we are placing them much lower than they should be in the national rank. But they can grind that very quickly though from that level up, and they are actually getting, I mean, people that have gotten far into the achievements have been playing a lot, and they are actually getting all that rewards again by playing further, because I mean, they can grind the national ladders again, and they get the achievements basically again, even though they are in this ladder now. And that's how we are gonna do the achievement system. The gold cards, we can't really know if people want to keep them for their blink value or if they want to turn them into resources.
Right, you mentioned you would just gold card, I turn it into resources.
I'm going to recycle all my gold cards before the 10th.
You say
I will keep them all.
Of course, you want to bring.
If I have an elite card and an elite gold card of the same card, I don't recycle the elite card. That's just me. I mean, I just want to keep that.
So yeah, we don't know really what people want. I mean, even with two people, it's already very different opinions. So we don't know what everyone is doing.
So it's up to players until the 10th to decide if they want to keep them or not. If they don't want to keep them, they will have to go and recycle them before that time to get the resources for those cards, and they can even spend those resources if they want to do it before the wild cards. But talking about the wild cards, then we are actually changing the resources to wild cards at a very good rate, I think. I mean, we want to be basically being very nice there, as in all of those decisions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just because I was talking about that we realized that the wild cards are a little bit more limited in usage than resources in some situations. So we really wanted to be extra generous in the conversion.
Yeah, and the conversion is basically we are doubling the resources that we have and turning them then into wild cards.
Wait. So did you say double?
Yes.
So all the resources I have now will be doubled on the 10th.
Yes.
And turned. All right.
And then turned into wild cards at the exchange rate that we have currently on cards.
Yeah.
So, and it will be done in a circle. So you will get 3 standard first, then 3 limited, 3 standard, 3 limited, 3 special and 1 elite. I think the circle is, and then just repeats until your resources are.
There are some pretty good examples in the blog that you that kind of explain this. But we try to, I mean, just give you the cycle is supposed to give you a pretty equal kind of amounts that you would regularly have of these.
I think it's a very, very fair, basically exchange rate.
And also, if I understand it right, please correct me. In the cycle, if you don't have the full resources to get the final card, you still get the card. So if the cycle continues and continues and continues, and you, let's say, have 1 resource left and are right about to hit the elite card, you still get the full elite card, even though you have only 1 resource left.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually seen people talking about this on Discord, that I think the cycle is 364, might be wrong, resources. But actually the elite card at the end is 160 worth, basically. So if you have 205 resources, then you will get the elite card with a discount of 99%.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. I think that's interesting. Gives lots of food for thought when and what to do and all these things. I think that's good.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
But when? You say the 10th of February.
10th of February, then
Nice.
it's all happening. One thing that isn't there is the national ranks. We are placing basically everybody in the lowest ranks, rank 20 to begin with.
For the seasonal ladder.
Yeah, for the seasonal ladder, and they will accept players that have played very few games. They will be in the lower levels, 25 to 21.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why
So
we need to see it probably in the first few days or something like that.
Yeah, so the first few days will be people going up to their place in the rank, and it might be
It will be pretty wild.
Yeah, chaotic at the start, but it will hopefully be more steady in just few days. Then in the next seasons, we are actually just dropping you as we are in the current system. We don't drop you down to level 20 again. If you are with the officer club, we will kick you back some levels back. So
Yeah, we have
exactly.
that's also a parameter that we might play around with. You know how far we push you back each cycle or season, because of the save points and all that. I mean, the seasonal reset is of course a really important tool to kind of balance things out again correctly.
But let me wrap that up. I think that's super important information and very good, of course, as well. So everyone will get 2 officer packs, just square and fair and free. Then double the resources. That's, I mean, pretty good too. And then the achievements will be moved over to the new national system, and then to the coding level there, and all the stuff you have received, you get again.
yes, basically, I mean.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. All right, I think.
I would maybe not word it in that way. I mean, you will get similar things from the new system.
Yeah, not the same, of course,
Yeah,
because
you get wildcards now.
exactly.
It
I
can't
would
be the
just
same.
like to maybe to complete this. I mean, the general principle here that we've been working with in the transition is that we know that even if we are really confident that the new systems will be much better, that transition is a little bit complicated. Sometimes these are, you know, oranges and apples that we are comparing, so we can't really translate everything directly into the new system. But we really, I think we are stretching really far to make this a really fair exchange for everyone.
So that's a very good point, yeah.
Most people will benefit from the transition. I
Yeah.
think that is a very fair conclusion.
And you still have quite some good time till the 10th. And because the season is so short, it doesn't start until the 10th, you can really do focus on getting as much stuff as you want without being concerned about your ladder position. But there are also questions from the chat. We have, of course, a nice big chat, and there are some questions. At the moment, we can get questions only from Twitch. So if you have questions, go there. And the first question is about, of course, a big card pack at 50,000 played cards. What are we going to do with that? I mean, if you have, like, let's say 45,000 cards played, what are you losing out, or are we doing something there?
Yeah, that is the only exception that we are doing in the achievement, is that if you have grinded to 40,000 cards currently then you will get the card back that you get now after playing 50,000 cards in a nation. That is the last rewards in the national system in the achievements. So we decided that if you reach 40,000, then you will give it that, because it will take some time to grind up to level 250, which is where you get it in the new system. So I mean, because it is a bit special from the other rewards.
Yeah, I mean, it might be something players have been really aiming at for a long time, and it is fundamentally different than just, you know, packs and gold and all that stuff that you can now get elsewhere. But these card packs, we have a special exception for those.
And as you said earlier, we don't want people to lose out in the transition, and you mentioned that as well. We are not I mean, when we move people over to the new national progression, we are not putting them further away from the card back. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
It's if you are already pretty close, you will stay pretty close to that, because you start the national progression not at 0.
Yeah, in a way. But the maximum number there is still, level 50.
Yeah.
So you might be quite far away from this last reward, which is this set of card packs or yeah.
All right, we have more questions. There's really good stuff coming in, really good questions. So one of the questions is, of course, what do I do? What now with all these goodies and good stuff, and it's too much. What do I do? Do I save up the packs and wait for them until the transition? Because for every 6 pack, I get the wild card and maybe something in the packs themselves and stuff like that. Or do I open the packs now and get the resources, so for duplicate cards, for example, so that then these resources can be doubled? What do I do?
It is basically up to the player. I mean, it is better for some player to open it before others. They might get a little bit more if they wait with it, because
it depends on how your collection is built up.
But if you have a big collection, then it might be good to open them now, because then you get more resources, and if that's what you want, then they will be doubled. I mean,
and you don't know. I mean, you might be lucky, get a duplicate elite, and I mean, that's a lot of resources.
So it depends. That's the kind of the answer. I mean, it yeah. I mean.
But it depends a bit. You can't really say it, and also depends on what you have already. Do you need more cards to play a bit better, to win more games and things like that, to grind up the achievement there or whatnot? I don't know. I mean, it's not easy to say. So let's move on to the next questions. Are there any plans for the wild cards so that you can combine them into a higher rarity or break them up into the lower rarity? Or are they just fixed? If I have a wild card of limited rarity, it is limited rarity.
I think at the moment there are no plans for it, and that's because while we realize that there are these certain limitations, that they are not interchangeable. That is also a strength with the wildcards. And that is the reason why we say that wildcards, one of the reasons why we say it's much easier for new players, for example, to use wildcards, is because, let's say you get today a golden elite, and you have 320 resources, and you're a new player, and you have to kind of weigh the value of those resources or that card against every other card in the game that you own or don't own, all the cards that we have ever made. And what are you going to pick from that? What is the best way to use those resources? If we narrow the choice quite a lot with these, like with rarity and national, for example, if you have a special US, wildcard, it's just a couple of pages in the whole set that you can choose from. It makes the decision so much easier. Yeah. So I think that is, limitation is often a good thing.
Yeah, especially when it comes also to reward tracks, you can be much more generous, for example, or provide the rewards in a more focused way. If it's too general, then it becomes also quite messy a bit.
I think maybe what we want to be really careful with, and we will be of course adjusting, is the influx of the different rarity levels. So that with regular play, players usually have the wildcards that they need based on what they're playing, whether they want to go and so on.
Exactly.
So that there's not like a lack of influx of a certain type of card. So they are really hard to, unproportionately harder to get than others or things like that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, right? You have like 100 elite wildcards and no standard.
Standard.
It's like, no, that's not going to happen. That is completely in our, well, not completely, but very much in our control. on the reward tracks. So another question is about the crate. We talked a little bit about that, but not in so much details. I mean, you can get out something, but how exactly is it working? So, like when you get a duplicate.
Yeah. So the crate only works from the duplicate, the surplus cards.
The surplus, yeah. So when you have already all of these cards in the according rarity.
What they do is they get converted into into points that eventually fill up the chest so that it can be opened. And there are fixed prices in the current design, and I think we're going to go with that rather than having it kind of a lottery or some random things in it.
And can you choose, or can you choose to get stuff from the crate, or and as alternative just continue filling it up for higher rarity, for higher points?
Yeah, I think in the current design you cannot choose, or it doesn't matter. It will just start filling up again if you empty it.
Right. Okay, good. Let's move on to the next question. That's quite a hot topic. Gold cards. Can you somehow create them in the future, or is it all just rewards or luck from opening card packs?
First of all, I would like to say that I mean, now we are kind of separating gold cards from the wildcard function. I want to make a promise that we are going to actually make them a bit more proper. Bling, you know.
Bling, makes them shine like real gold.
Shine a little bit more, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely, since they now have only that purpose. We have definitely discussed various ways of obtaining them other than through the just packs, and but there's nothing certain I can say about that at this point.
Okay, but I mean, it leaves us options because now the functionality is separated. So that's a good thing.
Exactly.
And that is something to keep in mind also with all these revamps. Some systems are just much easier to maintain and to expand as well. So I mean, that's something to keep in mind as well. So we talked already about the card back, the 50,000 played cards card back. That was a question as well. And let's see, people are still not sure about the rewards on the ladder. I think we can go into much more detail, and of course it will be easily shown after the 10th, but we can go more into the details in the summary blog when we publish it. It's much easier, I think, outlining.
I think the short answer is just like I said before. I think the general rewards that you will get for just playing, that you would get for reaching that place in the ladder anyway, will be so much more that you players generally will not have to worry about losing out on those rewards that.
Well, that's good to hear.
Moving there, yeah.
And of course, then it's something completely different when you're in the officer club, and then it opens up other opportunities like the championship, officer club championship, and things like that. I mean, that's just
$1,000 tournament.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't mind that, but I'm not that a good player. So if you have any tips and tricks, just let me know. Okay, more stuff. Yes. It's not directly related to this, but people were wondering about statistics on each nation. I mean, I think it's a bit.
Yeah, you mean like seeing in the client
exactly.
About your statistics, yeah.
But now that the achievements are gone and we have the national progression, it's much better visible already. I mean, at least how much you have played. That's true. You don't see your personal win rate and these kind of things, but it's a completely different topic and opens up a lot of other questions.
Yeah. I mean, we've been asked about that in quite some of these AMAs, and it's a bit more complicated maybe than.
Yeah, exactly. More questions about the achievements and the transitions, and for example, what happens with the hidden achievements, where you only see that's an achievement but don't exactly know what to do. What's happening with them?
Well, sadly, they are going out because we are removing all of the achievements currently. I mean, so yeah. So that's the quickest answer. I mean, they are going out, and
Yeah. I mean, there of course, I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, because the achievement system has all these national achievements that we are kind of replacing with the national progression system. But of course, there's also a ton of other
others,
achievements, like, you know, flying your bomber 1,000 times over Berlin or whatever it is, that have nothing to do with national progression. And I think, you know, in the long run, we haven't really nailed it down. I think we want to maybe move some of those things into the mission system, the daily missions, and elaborate, or, you know, expand that system maybe a little bit to have more varied daily missions and stuff like that.
Because that's a reward system, we haven't talked about it at all. I mean, it's still in the client, and we're not removing it and not touching it, but nothing prevents us, of course, from expanding it. And
we are actually touching it. It will now have a special button on the front, on the main screen. You know. So
much more visible.
They're getting promoted.
All right.
Promoted.
Oh, that's even better. Very good, very good. Because they were always a little bit hidden, right? You had to go through and needed to find them and see what's happening.
That whole window, the progression window that it was called, has always been a little bit messy and kind of a lot of different things in there. So we're tidying that up a little bit.
Nice, nice. There are a couple more questions. Let me see. For example, what about playing draft matches? Does it count also towards the national progression?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes,
Isn't that?
yes,
Yes,
yes, they
so
do. Yeah.
That's a clear answer. Yes, very good, very good. We have a few more questions. Let's see. About protection, gold protection, elite gold protection, and things like that. I think the question is about duplicate protection. If you have already an elite and open the pack, will there be any protection against getting the same elite again if you have still others that you don't have?
It is. I mean, we are not changing that. Currently, there is a duplicate protection on elite and special cards, so that will still be in. So I mean, when you open the packs, you don't get a duplicate of these unless you have all of them. Then we give you a random one. So.
Right. And what happens if you have that elite as a gold version, but not as a non-gold version? I mean, I just don't remember. So excellent question. We can address
it.
I can get back to you on that one.
So and keep in mind, that's a lot of information. I mean, we have, as mentioned, the blocks out there already, but we also will have an overview block, putting that all together, and based on feedbacks and questions, we will address that as well. So that's a really good question to follow up there.
Yep. I think if you have an elite card, you will not get the gold version, which of course should maybe be there. So
nothing prevents us from improving, right?
I'm not quite sure. I think so, though.
All right, perfect. I think that sums it up. If you have any more questions, that is great. Post them on Discord, for example, on the blogs. Provide good feedback. What do you want to see? And just don't be shy. You know, it's all good.
No, I second that. I mean, what we really want now is feedback, and
All right.
Counting on community for that.
Yeah, exactly. And these questions, I mean, when something is not really clear, obviously we haven't communicated it then properly, or maybe we haven't thought about some things, maybe because it was obvious for us, but it's maybe not obvious to some other people. When you're like really, yeah, sure, well, don't even think about it. But then the question comes up and says, yeah, of course. So questions are important not only to answer the question, but also to get the information out to other people that might have the same question. So very good. Yes, with that, as I said, there will be more blogs coming out, an overview blog. And most important, the transition will happen on 10th of February. So use the time until then. Grind up, have fun. What is it, 10 days without the season?
Yep, find achievements that give you resources and get those. They will be doubled.
Yeah, make a decision if you want to keep those gold cards.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing maybe for people to do before the 10th.
Yeah.
If they want to break down the gold cards, they have to do it before the 10th.
Yeah.
That is the biggest, basically, things that play will need to do if they want to get the resources there.
Yeah, I think that's very big. Yeah. And then there's of course a million different questions like, do I open the packs? Don't I open the packs? Do I get the resources and cash it in now and double it later? And exciting times, exciting times. With that, see you in the next Bunker Chat.